a massive undertaking happening there that that just isn't addressed at all by archaeologists. Nobody's tying together these different systems and saying, gosh, that was a monumental undertaking. I wonder what they were doing that for. It's all just rice farming is the official story.
Can you show me that LiDAR image again?
I'm looking for more. I keep running into just the scientific papers about it.
They have the LiDAR images locked away.
Yeah, they've done a bunch of studies on this, and there's some cool photos, but I'm trying to find, like, you know, some
Can you go
miles.
back to the ones that we were just looking at, though, that she provided? Because I want to see the patterns.
Yes.
Yeah, that. Okay, that. Perfect. Like, so those features are weird.
And
That's really weird.
They're huge. They're a mile long and half a mile wide, like that yellow square.
And they're symmetrical.
And they're perfectly symmetrical. And this isn't the only place in Cambodia that has these.
And so we're probably looking at an intensely sophisticated civilization.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the moat you see dug in the middle of that structure, that was built during the Khmer period, which is the civilization that all of this is being attributed to. They're the ones that dug that through the middle. So I don't even think they knew that this was here.
It was just completely covered.
Yeah, they just dug right through the middle of it.
And so this is probably really, really old. And people have lived in that same place. Look how crazy that looks. That's
almost
crazy.
Every inch of ancient Cambodia is engineered. There's a site called Kokare. It's about 200 miles northeast of Angkor Wat. They discovered a 7-kilometer long man-made dam that created a 2,000-acre reservoir.
Look at that image.
That's hers.
Yeah, they
That's
didn't know
crazy.
that this was there.
That's crazy.
I was on a tour with Derek Olson last November, and we actually took the tour group out to the corner of Angkor Wat and walked those mounds. And what's interesting is when you're out there, you actually can't tell that the mounds are there until you're kind of on top of them, and then you look around and you're like, wow, I'm feet above the rest of the landscape. And then you kind of keep walking because these things are 30 feet across. So you keep walking, and then suddenly you're at the bottom of the landscape. So I don't think that they knew it was there.
Wow. It's so big that without LiDAR, you're really not going to get an understanding
So
of what it is.
that picture, yeah, so there's a good example of the jungle canopy being kind of stripped away. This is what it looks like from the air without LiDAR.
So there's no way you would know.
No.
Wow.
Entire cities, 7-kilometer long dams, huge reservoirs. They didn't know about any of this until LiDAR came out.
That's incredible.
Also, look how the trees are just growing back in.
That's so
those
dope.
Stuff.
Look how awesome those roots look.
Yeah, that's the Laura Croft temple. It's called Tapram.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Laura Croft was filmed at this temple.
For real, for
Yeah,
real?
for real.
They actually let her film there, that
Yep.
movie?
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty dope.
Yeah.
Look at
Tourists
that.
love it.
That tree just overcoming the building's amazing.
They have their hands full in Cambodia with preserving these temples because the jungle's actively tearing it down.
Yeah, it looks like the jungle's trying to consume it with that tree.
Absolutely.
Like eventually it will.
Yep.
Eventually, if more trees grow like that, it'll break down all the stone underneath it.
The structures,
that's
I believe, are
beautiful.
older, like the pyramids. They're a little bit more impermeable to these kinds of things. The newer temples, like the one you see on the screen, they just get ripped down. You know, it's a little bit inferior construction, so it's newer. Obviously, I think the Khmer actually built those, and so those just get ripped down immediately by trees. But the really old stuff, the pyramids, if you see photos when they excavated it in like the 1920s, they were fully intact.
You were talking about the center of it, that it's different, that it looks older. Is there any clear images of like what that looks like?
If you of the pyramids or of Angkor Wat?
Angkor Wat. The center.
I don't think I have photos in that folder, but you can, if you...
Because you were talking about the difference between the
Yeah,
iconography.
if you search just the central towers of Angkor Wat, you're probably going to find images of that. The central, it's 3 layers that get higher and higher as you get toward the middle of Angkor Wat. And in the middle of it, it's carvings that just blow your mind. And they're all spiritual in nature, which is something you see all over the world. So in India, where I just was, it was the same thing. The older structures, it's spiritual imagery. And then as you move out to the newer structures, it's all war scenes. You know, you can see the de-evolution of human consciousness. Yeah, so these are from the center of Angkor Wat. It's deities, you know, it's beautiful 3D carvings. You can stick gum wrappers through these, so they're fully enclosed. You can stick a gum wrapper behind these stones.
Whoa. God, it's so pretty.
It's so beautiful.
and this is all this. So that's so interesting that the people that probably built it first had
No interest in war.
no interest in war, or at least had a very enlightened perspective.
It does support, the idea of, I know you've talked about the yuga cycles on this show, but the idea of human consciousness having reached its peak 12,000 years ago and has just been slowly devolving ever since. You can see that in the imagery in some of these temples, plain as day. So yeah, there's a lot of images of, war scenes on the outer, like all of the outer layers of Angkor Wat, but in the middle, it's totally different. Same in India.
Now, does anybody have an idea? Like, does anybody have a compelling theory as to when these were made? That is backed by any kind of evidence, or
No. I mean, you can look at carbon dating, and you can poke holes in the carbon dating all day long. So they'll carbon date wood samples. These are made of stone. You can't date stone. Mm-hmm. There's reconstructions that have happened on all these sites that are brick, and then there's wood doorways that are put in, and they've carbon dated the wood. And the wood, in a lot of instances, is coming back older than the accepted date of the temple construction in general, which is a little bit problematic. So, there's a pyramid called Bakong, which is the oldest accepted pyramid in Cambodia. That one's dated to 800 AD. The wood samples in the repaired sections of Bakong are from the 600s. And they say, well, that's generally the same, And so you have to ask yourself, if they were reconstructing and rebuilding these sites, say they were doing that during the Khmer times, they were using bricks and they were using wood to repair these sites. They were doing that in 600 AD. So how old is the pyramid itself? That they came there and they repaired the pyramid. How old is that core structure?
Yeah, and to assume that it's the same age is crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
and it's a bit of a circular argument because they date a temple based on an inscription, and then they look at other temples that don't have inscriptions and they say, well, this one looks a lot like this one.